Hey, so recently we talked about giving yourself a time audit. And so this next little talk here is going to be a follow-up to that. So for the time audit, you've kept track of all the things that you're doing in any given day. And now what's really, really useful is to go through the tasks that you're spending the most time on and assign each task into one of four areas. So area one is things you can totally eliminate, things you can totally automate, things you can delegate, or things that you want to optimize. So let's go through each of those kind of one at a time. The things you can eliminate are things that are not moving the needle forward for you. They might be good things. They might even be things that you've heard me or another book marketing expert tell you that you should be doing. But there are times where it makes way more sense to focus on the things that are working well for you instead of trying to spread yourself out so thin and trying to do a little bit of everything. A really good example of this, let's say that you have amazing Facebook ads and your Facebook ads are doing great. You've heard, because I've said so and other people have said so, it's a good idea to not rely just on one marketing tactic, right? So that way, if Facebook changes their algorithm or something like that, you've got a backup plan in place. So you start focusing on Amazon ads. And they just never really seem to work for you. Like maybe you spend $50 on Amazon ads and you get $30 back in sales your first month. It's not bad. It's not great. But let's say you spent 20 hours getting ready to do that. And I'm not talking about the time it takes to learn the platform. I'm talking about just to get the ad set up. Hopefully next month you're going to see more traction. But if by month 3 or 4, you're still having amazing success with Facebook ads and your Amazon ads, no matter what you do, just don't seem to be doing it for you, you know what? It's time to walk away. Maybe you can hire out your Amazon ads, or maybe you just decide this is not worth it. So this is where we bring in the 80-20 principle, which is that like 80% of your results are going to be coming from the top 20% of what you do. And a really good question to be asking yourself, no matter what you're doing, is are you in an 80% kind of task or a 20% kind of task? So yeah, maybe you get to where your Amazon ads, you can get them to spend $100 a month and you get $120 back in book sales. That's great. That's profit right there. But if it's taking you 20 hours a month just to make $20, sure, it's a little bit of progress, but it's definitely not the best use of your time. So these are the things that you can eliminate. Sometimes it's going to mean that you're not going to do things that people suggest that you do, but you can always tell yourself you can come back to it later, right? Eliminating doesn't mean you're never going to go back and try it. It just means now is not the time. For me, I've made the conscious choice that I'm not going to focus on Instagram. I don't have an account there. I don't have a presence there. I'm not a user there. It's not really a platform that I want to learn right now. Maybe next year I will be recording a video about how Instagram is the very best place for you to be marketing your books, right? But for right now, it's in my eliminate pile. And the next thing that you can ask yourself is, what can you automate? Maybe there are certain things that you're doing on a daily or weekly basis that you can find a way to actually make more automatic. For example, when I just started my newsletter list, I was delivering the free ebooks by hand. So anytime someone signed up for my form, I got an email and then I went and sent an email back with a link to the free book. That is not an efficient use of time. And there were so many tools that will automate so many processes for you. Maybe you find that at the end of every month, you're spending a couple hours just like getting bills paid, whether those are bills for the business or even your personal bills. And you decide, you know what, some of those you can automate. You can have money coming in and scheduled to go out just when it should, so that you don't have to go in and manually do those adjustments every single month or every single week, right? So as you're looking through the list of things that you spend time on every day or every week, ask yourself, are any of these things that you can automate? Especially in your day-to-day life, right? You don't need to just automate things for your business. There are things in your day-to-day life you can automate. It's one reason why I choose to wear this pink sweater every single time I stand in front of the camera and record a podcast or an interview or a training course for you. It's so that I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear, right? Anything that you can automate like that. This is the same type of reason why people will get their groceries delivered on a subscription basis or things like that, so that it just happens and you don't have to think about it. Next thing we want to talk about is what's something that you can delegate, right? So we talked about what you can eliminate, what you can automate. Now let's talk about what you can delegate. And this is where going back and finding, not going back, I mean, going forward and finding someone to help you in your author business can be a huge boost to your productivity, to your output, and it can free up so much mental energy, right? This is where I talked about maybe you hire out the ads, maybe you hire out your social media. A huge thing that I like to hire out is the customer service type things. I have an assistant who helps respond to emails from people when they ask, I don't know how to get this ebook onto my device. Can you help me? Right? Anything that feels tedious and draining for you, especially as you go through that list, like as you go through the list of things you've done all week, what would you love to not have to do anymore? Okay, maybe that can fall into the eliminate pile. Maybe it falls into the delegate pile. A lot of people like to hire out their social media presence. If I were to start Instagram, that's probably where I would begin. What can you hire out? And a great question to ask yourself, it's not, okay, if I pay somebody $100 this month to do this task for me, will I get an extra $100 back? That's not quite the right way to look at it. The right way to look at it is, will I earn back time and mental energy? And is that time and mental energy that I'm earning back worth $100? When I first hired my assistant, one of the big things that she was going to do for me was handle all the uploads, because since I'm wide and since I go direct to a lot of the platforms, each time I have a new book to publish, it needs to be uploaded in 5 or 6 different places. And that was getting so tedious. And I was actually making mistakes because I just wanted to get the process done with. And I was kind of scared because I knew that I was going to be paying out. And so what I didn't ask myself, okay, let's say I was going to pay her $200 to do all my uploads 1 month. The question wasn't, will I make $200 more than I would have if I had done this myself? The question was that I asked myself, you know what? If somebody told me that I could buy a piece of software that would do all of my uploads for me, would I pay $200 a month for that? And the answer was yes. All right. So that's a way to look at it. It doesn't have to necessarily be an exact money to time exchange. It can be more about the freedom that it gives you and the mental energy that it clears up so that you can be even more productive as a writer, right? So those are the things that you can delegate. Even if it's something that feels quick, when you do your time audit, you might find it's taking a lot more time than you think. So for example, I went through a time audit just a couple weeks ago. I had been recording videos for one of my courses, and I worked for 2 hours and ended up with half an hour's worth of recordings because I was doing the uploads. I was doing the downloads. I was taking them from here and putting them on here. If there needed to be something edited out, I was the one doing that. It didn't feel like it was taking nearly that much time, but it was. So that's another reason why the time audit can be so revealing. It's that it shows you what you are spending time on in tiny chunks, and those tiny chunks add up to huge chunks. And then lastly, after you've thought about what you want to eliminate, what you want to automate, and what you want to delegate, you can ask yourself, what do you want to optimize? What do you want to treasure and just keep on doing more and more of? And that's what you can do. That's another reason why I ended up hiring a first draft editor to just clean up all my typos. I realized that, yes, it was something I could do, but it was something like I hated the process so much that it almost made me not want to even write a first draft, because I was like, oh, well, if I write this first draft, then I'm just going to end up with a big mess to clean up, right? So by focusing on what you can eliminate, automate, and delegate, it allows you to just treasure and optimize the things that you want to keep doing. So I hope that that was useful for you, and that as you kind of think about what you're spending your time on, that you find some things that you can get rid of, things that you can hand over to someone else to do, things that you can put on autopilot so you don't have to think about them. And that frees you up to just enjoy so much more of what you're doing.